Dear God, who leaked the contents of the SCOTUS draft opinion? It must be a plot. And who understands plots more than 3 plotsing morons? People who apparently are made up of a woman who has yet to figure out that they always put a woman in a short skirt dead center on this fucking couch. I think she got the flowers in a raise. Like, we need to put it there because she's not wearing any underwear. She's going to totally Sharon Stone us if we don't put something there. Because she keeps uncrossing and recrossing without realizing that this is a punk set and it's fucking gross. And so this show, Fox and Friends, run by a woman who's either not aware or doesn't care, and 2 dudes who've known this forever and pretend it isn't happening. Just saying. If I'm ever on Fox and Friends again, and I was a long time ago on Talk Soup, I'm never gonna not talk about that. Why does it have to be boy, girl, boy in this situation? She should be able to. I mean, not that Kilmeade's crotch angles any better currently, but it's a little easier to salvage without worrying about like turning every afternoon, early afternoon to early morning Fox viewer into a gynecologist. It's such a dick move. So, anyways, Politico, leaked draft opinion reveals Supreme Court has voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Breaking news. This was happening. And who did they call in? They needed somebody to talk about this. They needed, well, nobody needs him, but they decided they'd have Mark Levin call in. Sean Hannity calls him the Great One. Oh, God.
Levin, he also has worked in the federal government, host of Life, Liberty, and Levin.
You say he's worked in the federal government like that's a good thing. Don't you guys fucking hate the federal government?
Mark, thanks for getting up early today. So you heard Laura, you've been...
Yeah, normally you slacker hippie.
Thinking about this all night. Do you... obviously, everybody feels this is some sort of activist inside the court trying to get the justices to change their mind. Will this change any minds, or will this just harden their belief that Roe v. Wade should be overturned?
Gee, I don't know. Please, whatever you do, don't lead him with your question.
They're going to dig in on this.
I don't think it's going to change any justice's mind, but I want to talk about this in a broader context.
Yeah, in the broader context. Anything to not talk about the fact that there's a lady sitting here with 3 dudes, and we're all arguing that she should have fewer decisions made about her body than we do.
Text. When you attack America's institutions day in and day out with
well, obviously, not every day. January 6th, it's like a holiday. You're allowed to do it on that day. Also, FBI, Department of Justice, the administration when it's anybody but Trump. These guys, constantly attack the IRS. I don't know. They attack every branch of government, every office of government all the time.
Critical race theory. When you threaten the Supreme Court of the United States, as Chuck Schumer threatened 2 justices several years ago for which he never paid a penalty. When you keep talking about...
Well, they had to get a guard, obviously.
Packing...
That guy's only job is to watch for Chuck Schumer. If he gets anywhere near the place, they give him I think it's a coffee bean gift card, and he goes, "Oh, good," and he walks off and uses it. He doesn't. It's the perfect distraction.
The Supreme Court, in order to get the results that you want, when you keep denigrating these institutions, these American institutions.
Yes, like the FBI and the CIA and the DOD and the Department of Justice and the IRS and every other branch of government that you want to shrink down and then drown in a bathtub.
From the founding to our monuments to our history to these different branches of government, when you keep trespassing on separation of powers, this...
Yeah, obviously he doesn't mean trespassing on Capitol grounds, because that's fine.
This is what you get.
This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. Nobody's ever seen Hardware. Am I the only person who's watched that movie?
When you use an unnamed so-called whistleblower to try and take out a president of the United States.
Unnamed so-called whistleblower. Are we talking about a specific person, or is that this, or?
And you impeach him twice, really, with no basis whatsoever.
Well, luckily, no one ever did that. They impeached him twice with a lot of basis, actually. It's just he was protected by a Republican majority in the Senate.
And when you trigger the investigation of a president with a special counsel in violation of Department of Justice regulations with no predicate whatsoever.
Well, there's obviously, if they had no predicate whatsoever, it wouldn't have happened. They obviously had some predicate. You just don't think it's a legit predicate because you're an asshole.
When you conduct yourself in an utterly lawless way,
I feel seen.
Attacking the institutions of this country.
Yeah, so again, except January 6th, which is fine.
Attacking the founding documents of this country.
Yes. If you, I don't know, charge into the Capitol with a Confederate flag and all right.
Attacking the history of this country, this is what you get.
This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you're going. This is what you get. This is what, sorry. It's going to be stuck in my head because he keeps saying
lawlessness. It's just a matter of time. All these institutions are going to collapse. This is a grave assault on the Supreme Court. When I was in law school, I was actually an intern to Chief Justice Warren Burger. I saw how it operated.
Yeah, did you?
And I can tell you, this institution takes its confidentiality seriously. Why? That's the coin of the realm.
That's the coin of the realm. And here I thought it was the arbiter of constitutionality in our legal system, and apparently no. It's just it's a gold coin that determines royal rule.
They've got to be able to talk about ideas freely. They got to be able to discuss this without...
Yeah, they got to play grab ass, have a couple of beers. They got to Kavanaugh it up, baby.
Political pressure. Why do people think these are lifetime appointments? And of course, the Democrat Party is destroying this country. Look at the confirmation process.
It's terrible. Trump put up 3 people. Got all 3 of them. Obama should have had Merrick Garland. Oh, yeah, you're right. It is kind of fucked.
Started with Bork, the Democrats targeted.
Yeah, Bork. We're going to go back to Bork now? Go Bork yourself.
Under Kennedy and Biden. And it moves on to others, including Clarence Thomas, including Kavanaugh. Republicans don't treat Democrat nominees this way. They may object to them. When you say...
What the fuck are you talking about? They're all... These are... Other than Bork... Those 2 guys got on. Clarence Thomas is the oldest sitting justice right now, I think, right?
The Supreme Court doesn't look like America. You're undermining the credibility of the court. And so this is a war on our system of government. You see immediately Bernie Sanders, who really hates this country as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you word it. I mean, obviously, Bernie Sanders probably does hate this country as far as you're concerned. But that's a very narrow area. I mean, basically, you're like Pigpen. You know what I mean? It stinks right where you are. But the rest of it's not bad.
Does he ever say anything good about the country? When you see...
Kilmeade, never.
Bernie Sanders issue a tweet or a statement saying, now basically on to the Senate, we have to get rid of the filibuster rule. So they want to take out 2 institutions with 1 stone. When you see that press release that Schumer and Pelosi put out, they're real out there trying to politicize their base.
Out there.
Trying to rev up the voters for November.
Yeah, why would they do that? Since voters choosing Democrats to be in seats so that they could actually pass legislation is the only way that we'll be able to fix this, because if the Supreme Court scuttles Roe, that's how we live in a representative democracy, fucko. Of course they're going to try and get voters out to fix this. What do you expect?
These are disgusting people who are...
Well, yeah, some of them are, but you think you have something you share. You have to, that's what you can find. You got to find common ground somewhere, Mark Levin. Maybe your disgusting parts are like puzzle pieces. I don't even want to think of those thoughts.
Statesmen who put their party before their country. We've become the United States of the Democrat Party, not the...
Well, don't threaten me with a good time.
United States of America. So this person who's leaked, it's very interesting. I was talking to my wife about this last
Your wife leaked this?
night. This person who leaked will be considered an iconic civil rights type person, whether this person's a lawyer and loses their bar degree or not, their law degree.
Their bar degree? I don't know. What degree do you go to the bars? Is the biggest question.
They will make a fortune writing books. They will make a fortune going on different circuits, talk circuits.
Yeah, circuits. They'll be touring, doing stand up. Probably, I'm going with a singer songwriter. You know, RBG, easy as 1, 2, 3.
Maybe they'll even be folk.
And then it turns out it was a right winger who put it out because they know that their voters are, you know, for all their like, Biden's not that popular, we're going to kick ass this fall. And then Trump's rolling around the country going, we can't vote in this election unless we unvote last election. Like, fuck me.
Focused on by CBS Sunday Morning with the birds in the background and the flowers in the front round.
Oh, somebody noticed. Sorry, Mark, are the vagina flowers blocking your view, you sick son of a bitch? Seriously, I've never seen those flowers before. I'm beginning to think they put the crotch flowers there for her just because of Mark Levin. She's like, that motherfucker keeps talking about my Georgia O'Keeffe painting he wants to see. Jesus Christ.
What's
It's just what
happening to this country is
reasonable and fine and kind of normal again, which sounds like a panic to you.
the degradation of our belief system.
The degradation. The what? Sorry?
Happening to this country
Is the what?
is the degradation.
The degradation. The degagation? Is that a degagation?
Of our belief systems and our institutions.
I think he meant degradation, but he can't say it because they've showed him a monitor, and all he can stare at is that little pot full of flowers.
From within.
These flowers are in my way. Fucking flowers.
And if you're pushing things like critical race theory, you have no respect for this country. As a matter of fact,
What the fuck does that have to do with it? What does CRT have to do with this at all? Oh, I know. New black female justice. He's thinking the black lady who just came on, who grew up apparently, and she's CRT. She's the one who handed this out. Are we supposed to grab is he implying or allowing for the inference thereof that the new black associate justice, it had to be her, right?
kinds of leaks are necessary. If you believe that.
What? And again, you don't even know who the fuck this came from. There's every reason to believe this is a right-winger trying to drum up voters, that they think they're going to punt this. Here's a story. I'm going to float this for you. Right inside this building. Alito, Roberts, and all those guys want to do this, but they want to wait. They're talking internally. We come to this decision, but we're not going to release it. We're going to dick around with it until after the election. And the Republican, somebody in their staff, an Alito or Roberts staff, or even Clarence Thomas or Ginny Thomas, fucking hell, saw this and went, no, this will motivate the Republican voter base. They need to know we're going to do this, and they got to be really excited, and they've got to fight to make sure that the Democrats can't overturn this. So we need to let this out. If you wait until after the election, they're not going to show. That there's every reason to believe that's the same thing. I don't know, but neither does he.
This country was founded in malice, that this country is evil, that you'll do anything to take it down. And we've now reached a point where the ends do justify the means. So
And again, what do you mean bring it down, motherfucker? Trump stacked this court. And they are a one-vote SCOTUS. The fact that they're even writing this opinion this way is the problem. We've read through it. I read through it on the other live stream, and before I went on to do Jones' show. It reads like a anti-abortion pamphlet.
Whomever this leaker is, by the way.
Suggested segment name, this is what you want, this is what you get. This is what you want, this is what you get. Sorry, that was dirty.
Here it is. Here's the document. It's everywhere.
Son of a bitch. Mark Levin leaked it. Look at that. Well, he didn't leak it. He's just flipping through it. He was like, wait, this has pictures? Go.
And what I notice is, where's the minority opinion?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
because it hadn't been written, because the minority opinion is written in reference to the final draft. Because why would they bother to write their opinion until the majority opinion was defined? I'm sure they got notes. It might be that you're a fucking moron. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I don't see it.
Well, you wouldn't, because that's the draft opinion and arguably the first draft of it, according to the paper that's on top of it. So they wouldn't write a response to it until they had codified the final version. I'm sure there are notes to it, like I said, but
I guess that wasn't circulated.
Because it's not written yet, because this is a draft. Oh, fucking hell. But this will be successful in carrying this conspiracy theory forward.
Other opinions, other notes, they're not circulated, just what apparently...
Yeah, see, notice how you went other opinions, other notes aren't going with it? Because they're not a single document.
Alito is alleged to have written. By the way, it's a damn good draft, as a matter of fact. And on the substance. What's
the best part? The part where they cite a gentleman's magazine from 1732?
We have headlines saying the Supreme Court is...
No, Mark. Oh, you were doing so poorly. You can't just go, we have headlines, asshole. You're not here to read headlines. You're supposed to be the great one. You're supposed to have read this, and you're supposed to, like, look, he's been reading headlines. What the fuck do you think this is? He's got 2 pages. That's not that whole document. He's just got his fingers together in his own, like, one of these days, I'll put a flower right here, ball flowers. And she's got the same notes he does. These are just show notes. Neither one of them has the actual document. He doesn't seem to have it, unless... Is that a stack? It's hard to tell, but it doesn't look like it. Maybe he has a digital one on his folded, giant iPad that he, of course, Apple, terrible, big tech, whatever. You're not supposed to read us headlines, Mark. You're supposed to give us the inside skinny.
Eliminate abortion rights. Ladies and gentlemen, even if this opinion winds up being essentially the final opinion and you want an abortion, you'll get an abortion.
Why would you lick your lips when you say the word abortion like that? If you want an abortion, you'll get an abortion. Honestly, I make room for almost every fetish. That's where I draw the line.
It'll be paid for by the federal government.
It will? Is there a special shop that women will go into? Is kind of like a vaginal car wash and abortion clinic? You just roll through on your back and there's like these big flapping things and then a speculum.
Maybe you'll have to go to one of 30 or 40 or 45 states.
30 or 40 or 45 states? Right. Yeah. So what if you're an American and you don't have equal rights in every state? Who gives a shit? And again, like I said, if California wants to decide that they're going to be hardliners about the Second Amendment and go every gun sold in California, made in California, or distributed through California, or coming in through our ports, or any of that stuff, has to have an RFID chip in it that identifies it and must remain with it forever if you want to sell it in there. Because well-regulated militia is in the Constitution. They get to do that, as does all the other big states, including New York. And they could say, you know what, not just the guns themselves, but any financial transactions that go through our states that deal with guns have to have that. Unless they are military weapons, they have to have a trackable RFID chip in them. I'm sure they'll be fine with that. I mean, it only applies to a couple of states, the ones with all the money, but sure.
I'm sure people will consider that an inconvenience, but the idea that people...
It's people. Well, at least I guess that's progress. He considers women people, right? Little mini victories, teeny victories.
Cannot get an abortion. Abortion is not eliminated. Abortion is still going to be funded by the federal government. We have one of the most extreme processes, extreme in terms of so-called liberal processes for getting abortion on the face of the earth.
So there isn't a process. The liberal processes would be a total lack of process, I think. It would just be like, yeah, just take a number. It's like an abortion deli in Levin's head.
Even with this decision, the Roe v. Wade decision was a bogus decision.
Bogus. Bruh.
It was a political op-ed piece for the New York Times or the Washington Post.
One or the other, I don't know.
It has no basis in the Constitution or law. This is why they fight like hell to get justices on there who will uphold it. If it was,
well, that's why you fight like hell to get justices on there who will tear it down. The fuck are you talking about? The fact that a one-term president got to literally command control of the SCOTUS is fucked up. He fucked up.
Was that you don't need justices on the court? They don't fight over Plessy versus Ferguson, the Brown versus Board of Education. Which
that's because you guys don't have the guts to go after that one. However, this ruling would call those into question.
Reverse Plessy versus Ferguson. They don't ask people about that because everybody knows that's settled law under our Constitution.
Yeah, just like we thought Roe was.
The corrupt decision was Plessy, not Brown. But Roe v.
Well, sorry? Beg your pardon?
Constitution. The corrupt decision was Plessy, not Brown.
Oh, all right. May I? Hold on one second. You're going to see, let me show you why, where is this? The corrupt decision. Plessy v. Ferguson. 1896. Here you go. This is from a, just in case you. Louisiana enacted the Separate Car Act, which required separate railway cars for blacks and whites. In 1892, Homer Plessy, who was 7/8 Caucasian, agreed to participate in a test to challenge the act. He was solicited by the Comité des Citoyens, the Committee of Citizens, a group of New Orleans residents who sought to repeal the act. They asked Plessy, who was technically black under Louisiana law, to sit in a whites-only car of a Louisiana train. The railroad cooperated because it thought the act imposed unnecessary costs via the purchase of additional railroad cars. That's right, Incorporated Railway Company, the company, was like, this is unnecessary. It's a waste of money. Nobody gives a shit. And yet the racists of Louisiana were like, I beg to differ. When Plessy was told to vacate the whites-only car, he refused and was arrested. At trial, Plessy's lawyers argued that the Separate Car Act violated the 13th and 14th Amendments. The judge found that Louisiana could enforce this law insofar as it affected railroads within its boundaries. Plessy was convicted. And the rule around it being that eventually that became the case law that determined that if it travels outside because of the Commerce Clause, effectively, that they couldn't state to state, if a train came in and out, you can't make people get up and walk to another part of the fucking train because they're in a different state. And then that's what he's calling corrupt.
But Roe v. Wade is a corruption of the...
It's corrupt. Apparently it's corrupt.
Supreme Court. This is why we have unalienable rights and the...
Inalienable. They're not unalienable. They can't not get sick, dipshit.
A corruption of the Supreme Court. This is why we have unalienable rights, and the majority should never rule in all cases.
This is why we have unalienable rights. Yes, one of those inalienable rights is bodily autonomy in theory. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for your fucking self, Mr. Individual Rights. When did Republicans give up on that shit? Super weird.
Mark, as far as the leaker's concerned, obviously it was unethical for this person to do this, but was it?
I don't know. It depends on that person's ethics. It also depends on who the fuck they are. You don't know. I don't know.
Illegal.
I think it was found on Hunter Biden's laptop.
In law
which doesn't exist.
School, would you have learned that this would have been illegal? And if so...
In law school, would you have learned this would have been illegal? Really? When did he go? Was he in Kim Kardashian's class?
Does this person go to court after the FBI investigates?
Well, obviously not. Obviously, they have total disdain for the court. So why would they go to court?
Does this person go before Congress?
He says book tour.
I am not aware of a federal criminal statute.
I'm not aware of why Ducey is doing the Illuminati heart symbol over his crotch this whole fucking time. Is this an agreement he has with Mark Levin? I mean, there are literal. Oh, there he goes. Look, I fucking made him nervous.
People who do this sort of thing for a living.
Somebody went, Illuminati. You're doing the Illuminati.
They'll look. Maybe we'll accuse them of trespassing or parading at the Supreme Court. That might be a good try. But none.
That's a failed Jan 6 reference.
Nonetheless, no, it's unethical. If they're a member of the bar, they will be disbarred. But they won't care, because that calculation was already made. Again, they're going to be viewed by the left, by the Pelosi's and Schumers, not as destroying an institution, not as making it incredibly difficult for justices to work with each other.
Again, I'm not 100% convinced this isn't to drive Republicans to the polls this fall.
And they're going to have to change their...
Like, they're going to finally do it. It worked. We need to back Republicans. They finally came through. Roe's going to be dead. Like, this sounds like something you would use.
Processes now there when it comes to the law clerks and others.
Somebody was asking, why does TYT trash Dems instead of Republicans? Because they want Republicans to win. Because that's where the money is, baby. You don't make money when your party's in office.
They're going to be
your alleged party
on the left. If you watch these other networks and you watch these senators, these Democrat senators coming up, they're attacking Alito. You saw what Pelosi and Schumer said about.
Well, yeah, they're going to read. They've read it. They're going to have issue with it. You fucking think?
The justices, they lied and so forth and so on.
Right, and so forth and so on.
And again, what Sanders and the other radicals want to do is now destroy the Senate. Again,
they lied, so forth and so on, in their confirmation hearings.
These people do not care about our institutions.
Well, apparently they do, because it seems as though, at least in recent history, that 4 of the 5 that are siding with this agreement, that are in this opinion in general, aligning with this draft in the majority, said that Roe was settled law, said they believed in stare decisis, and fucking lied.
This is a different
breed it's true.
Of Democrat. These are, as I've said, American Marxists. They are attacking the...
Oh, my God. Now he's selling his fucking book.
...foundations of the country. They're not arguing within the box.
Not like Mark Levin is. It's not it's a rectangular box. My cat likes those kinds.
They're not fighting within the box. They're destroying the box.
Yeah, no box. And no, yeah. And by the way, the fact that this asshole is even using the box as a fucking argument, don't get me started on vernacular and slang. Like, he's just upset that the flowers are in the way.
And
what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
The Democrat Party's taking the lead on this, so they're not all that upset about the leak. In fact, I think they think it's a wonderful thing. I heard Leo Terrell last night. He nailed it. This is all about politics. And what this means is they're going to try and rev up their base for November.
Yeah, but again, why wouldn't this rev up the base for Republicans? Oh, right, because they don't have one. It's smaller.
They want to put pressure on the justices. Do I think it'll work? No, I don't. Looks like Roberts has lost already, because Roberts is no Rehnquist when it comes to principles and so forth. But Roberts has a responsibility now. It's the Chief Justice's job to be the chief administrator of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Right. So he needs to ask Alito to resign. And because, if something gets out and you were the one that was in charge of it, obviously you're first to go. Even if somebody else got a circulated copy, it was your fault for circulating it to people who aren't trustworthy. I think it's probably best. He should step down. Also, Ginny Thomas should be, kept away. Maybe some sort of like a restraining order.
And they need to find out who did this. They need to punish the person.
I did it. It was me. It was the one-armed man.
And somebody needs to say something much more substantive and effective about
Well, I think I've been doing quite well.
the war against our court.
Well, certainly more substantive than you.
By the Democrats. Republicans aren't committing any attacks on the Supreme Court, and also
No, they were worn out. They can only do one giant government building every 2 years. It's exhausting.
the war against our history, the war against our institutions. There's one party doing this.
Wait a minute. There's one party doing this? Oh, yeah, the Republicans, right. Charlottesville, Confederate flag. I mean, there's one party and one recent president whose supporters brought a Confederate flag into the Capitol. That is true. Well said, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
And except for a few exceptions like you folks, the media...
Yes, the Fox and Friends are in a class all by themselves. And of course, that class, of course, has been dismissed because of helium poisoning.
...are fully involved in it. I have a question.
Okay, I've got an answer.
Politico sat on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Oh, that's what happened to it. Oh, no, sorry, you can't sit on something that doesn't exist. It's think of it as Mark Levin's penis.
They had access to it.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Even the New York Post didn't have access to it. Where is it? Where the fuck is the laptop? Show me the laptop.
Why didn't they report on it?
Because they'd never seen it, and it would be unethical and stupid, like the Washington Post did, to report on something that you have never, ever laid eyes on, that you've never even seen a fucking picture of, and you're calling it the laptop.
And yet, Politico gets this leak, and they can't wait to do a headline on it and push it out.
Well, in their defense, this isn't a copy of the opinion that has been circulating for 2 years, that other people made changes to, and that was cobbled together from some stuff that was real, some stuff that was typed up and given to a blind SCOTUS opinion repairman who never saw who dropped it off, never saw who picked it up, and can't identify the FBI agents that came. Never mind.
Just shows you how corrupt the media are. They wanted Biden to win, so.
Well, yeah. They you can only have an American press if America still exists.
The media, for the most part, and the big tech oligarchs sat on the laptop story.
No, they didn't. There just wasn't one.
Promoted the Russia collusion story because they.
Which is true.
Wanted to take or delegitimize Trump and take him out, and.
Well, if he hadn't made so many perfect phone calls.
Here they can't wait.
Nice, Julie. Where the fuck is that emoji from? What is that?
To get this Supreme.
I'm sorry. It's a Twitch emoji, and it's just making me laugh. I don't know what that is. I've done that before, and it really helps with abs.
Supreme Court stuff out. This just shows you how a poisonous media with a radical agenda. But harms this
I feel seen.
Country. So I'll be the first one to say it. What the hell was Politico thinking?
I think they were thinking that they got a copy of this thing and they were like, holy fucking shit, they're going to overturn 40 years of settled law when they all sat before in their confirmation hearings and said they weren't going to, and this thing is written like shit. I think that's kind of what we can't put out little pieces of it or we'll be in deep shit, so we should leak it. We should just do the whole thing.
Oh, well, we got it. We have to run with it. No, you're liars. There's a lot you don't run with when it doesn't advance your narrative and advance.
Like what? Because Hunter Biden and everybody has not come forward and said this is real. He hasn't confirmed that he dropped it off at all, insofar as I know. So, unlike Alito, who said, yes, this is true. Within a day, he said, yeah, that's genuine. That document is genuine.
Your agenda. You have participated in a grave assault on the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
Dear
and
God.
every Democrat and anyone else who uses this as a political opportunity, whether to push for the filibuster rule to be eliminated in the Senate or start attacking the justices, these are all corrupt, poisonous people and voices who are attacking the foundations of this country.
Yeah, nail it. Mark Levin, bring it. Poisonous, gross people who are reacting to something that politically they've been warning about for years. Who could have seen this coming?
Well, a couple of things.
Of course they were going to react this way. But then, of course, a bunch of Republicans are going to go, yes, Trump got these people in. They're destroying Roe. That's exactly what we want. We should vote more in the fall. Like, why is this not a motivator for Republicans as much as it would be a motivator for Democrats? That's the thing. Like, again, I'm not seeing the automatic lineage to a Democratic operative. It might very well be, but I don't necessarily think it'll work in that favor. I don't think that's an automatic choice.
Number one,
especially if they weren't planning on releasing it until after the election, in which case I'm like 100%.
they're going to roll the story. I'm sure Joe Biden today in Alabama, before he talks about javelins and saluting the machinists that make them, he will say something.
Oh, all right, which is apparently a negative.
And tap into his Jim Crow 2.0 attitude that was totally inaccurate in describing the Georgia rule. Number two is
the Georgia rule.
Everything you said is correct about the media.
By the way, and the Georgia rule, I guess he's talking about a particular abortion rule, but this ruling would basically codify any state's bizarre abortion rights obliteration that they want to try. Kentucky's law, Alabama's law, Georgia, Texas, Florida, whatever the fuck they want to do.
But what does it tell you that the American people still are on the cusp of really doing damage to the Democratic Party if all these polls and the sentiment are correct?
Well, not so much.
The media is not controlling things. They're not pulling the strings of the American people. The media
is not pulling the strings. Well, that's good enough.
It's not where the American people are.
Wait, the media is not pulling the strings of the American people. The media is not where the American people are. I'm trying to. I know what I understand. He's an asshole. Sorry, I was trying to interpret that as actual English.
The problem is
Brian Kilmeade.
Brian, the media has to inform the American people about honestly what's taking place in their government. And when the media takes sides...
Doc Spano, what about Kansas? There's a lot I hear about Kansas all the time.
The American people don't know what's taking place in their government. We may win the midterm elections, but are we going to win every election?
No. I would argue you're not going to win the midterm, actually. And this will play a huge part of it. The storms? Are you talking about the storms in Kansas?
Institutions going to be able to withstand this?
Right.
We have hosts on these other networks who hate this country, who push racism day in and day out. People.
Hey, don't talk about Fox and Friends like they're not there.
Who have in the past pushed homophobia and anti-Semitism, and they're given primetime slots on MSNBC. Is that what we want in this country?
Are they now? Are you jealous?
We have people who are celebrating the leaker, whomever the leaker is, because they're pushing their agenda. These are people who have situational ethics and ends that they demand, and they're in the media.
How the fuck do you know? Well, I guess what he's saying, Politico posting it. Like, how are they? First of all, it's totally newsworthy. Like, whether you're for it or against it, the question would not be, did Politico put this out once they got a copy of it to manipulate the electorate? The question is, if Fox had gotten it, or if the Wall Street Journal had gotten it, or something like that, and Murdoch had control over it, whether he would make a political calculation, or they would make a political calculation that it would harm Republicans in the fall, and we're working, hand in glove with Alito and Roberts to push this decision till after the election so they could sneak it past by going, we're just trying to be regular Republicans. In certain areas we got our MTGs, but the rest of us are totally cool, and allowing them to kind of go, well, what's the difference between the two parties? That whataboutism bullshit that they've leveraged, thanks TYT, for years. They were on their way to doing that. This would fuck that into a cocked hat, and arguably. So the question is, do Republicans in certain areas? So does a Republican paper ethically, if they get a hold of it, not release it?
So we cannot,
because everywhere else, every other neutral or left-leaning paper, if Vox got it, or if the Washington Post got it, or if CNN got it, they're of course, or fucking somebody at NPR, they're going to of course release it.
Not have a free country for long when the institutions that are intended to keep us free are corrupted. And so the media...
Again, what's the corrupted part? That somebody snuck this out? This person gets booted, and then they come up with a process to make sure that this stuff doesn't see the light of day, or we pass a law that says you can't release draft opinions, that's considered detrimental to whatever. Like you could swear an oath, or it might be a violation of your oath. You might go to jail for doing something like that. But then again, is this a Chelsea Manning reality winner moment for that person, right? They see the court about to do something that's going to cost women's lives, and they're like, people need to know about this, because by the time they do, it's going to be over.
Everybody knows the media is an appendage of the Democrat Party for the most part. Why do you think they attack conservative talk radio? They attack...
Do they?
Fox. They attack other conservative outlets. I mean, they control 98% of everything that's said out there, and it's still...
It's almost like it's the most popular opinion.
Not good enough for them. They want conformity. Why do you think they attack Elon Musk?
His hair.
They demand conformity. Sure. They don't want free speech. They don't want a Supreme Court.
Listen to Ducey.
That sits there and debates issues and makes decisions. They want their ruling the way they want their ruling. And come hell or high water, that's the way it is. That's why I started off by saying it's the United States of the Democrat Party. They're not thinking about...
Yes, we know you have notes about what you're going to say. You weren't expecting this segment to go on this long. They're just letting you ramble because their other guest didn't show up.
America, I heard one senator say, we're going to have a patchwork of abortion rules now.
Right? And that means we're going to have a patchwork of women's rights. Women will have to decide whether or not they move, or parents of girls will have to decide whether or not they're going to move to a particular state based on whether or not she'll have full rights as a human being.
I said, yes, that's the point.
Well, there you go. Yeah. This asshole's talking about tearing our institutions apart, and then he wants different rights per state.
That's the point. People in South Carolina are not people in California when it...
Right. But you should be able to move from one state to the other without showing your papers, especially when they're your medical papers.
Comes to certain viewpoints.
That's federalism.
And the reason...
That's federalism. Shut the fuck up, Dosey. I love when these assholes pretend to know something. That's federalism. It's a thing. It's what we do. I mean, it's what it's supposed to be.
The framers were so brilliant and did this, is to keep the country united by allowing diverse views with diverse people, with diverse religions, and diverse backgrounds.
And yet inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which this motherfucker takes two of those words and turns into his television title when he doesn't believe in either.
To live where they want, to be mobile, so that one...
Yeah. Wait, run that by me again, asshat. Wait a second.
Religions, to diverse backgrounds, to live where they want, to be mobile.
Right. And now they can't. Because if a woman wants to have this equal rights, she's got to pick which state she's in. She can't be mobile.
So that one court, and it's not even 9 justices, maybe it's 7, maybe it's 5, doesn't put a stamp on everything that must be said in the culture. You shall...
They don't. You don't have to have an abortion. But legally, you can have the choice. Nationwide, United States of America. You can argue against the morality of it. You can say it in every fucking church. You can open, like certain states, you want to eliminate abortion. Here's a great way to do it. Free contraception, reversible vasectomies for every boy when he turns 17, 15 in my case, 14, honestly, in my case. And then adoption, prenatal care, postnatal care for free. That's how you do it. Nah, I'm kidding. You just eliminate the right.
Honor this. You shall pay for that. Wait a minute. It goes against my religious beliefs. I don't want to bake that cake. I don't.
Yeah, I don't want to bake that cake. I don't want to have a bun in my fucking oven.
Want to do that thing. You will do what we tell you to do. It's the same attitude when it comes to voting. Voting, the rules for voting, only the state legislatures are supposed to make the rules, not the state courts, not state governors and all.
Get the fuck out of here. These are federal office. They can have standards for voting in federal office. If you want to let the dog pick who's fucking mayor by putting peanut butter on everybody's crotch in your hometown, Mark, knock yourself the fuck out. But if it's an office that affects the rest of the country, we can have standards. It's 22.
All the rest. This is why we've had such a battle over the 2020 election. And
no, we haven't. There's been no battle over the 2020 election. There's a bunch of fucking lunatics who are upset it didn't go their way. That's not a battle. We're not battling over this. We established these standards and we improved on them for years.
The answer for the Democrats is let's centralize that too. Why? So they can impose their will on South Carolina, impose their will on Pennsylvania, which is a culturally conservative state.
Yeah, sure it is.
Impose their New York
Yeah, I mean, the places with no people in them, sure.
City, San Francisco rules on the rest of the country.
Well, are we talking about the restaurants or the street sweepers? Because I could 6 of one, half dozen of another. I would actually say, arguably, San Francisco, I love your old architecture. The new stuff leaves something to be desired.
This Roe v. Wade decision, the American people know it's not the right decision. Why are justices on this? You know, the first book I wrote was called This.
Yikes. I'm sorry. Mark Levin holding up it just says the word black really big, and I was concerned.
Men in Black, how the Supreme Court is destroying America.
Notice, and he was like, yeah, I know there was a woman at the time, but...
Because the Supreme Court...
Because Supreme Court shouldn't have women on it. They're fucking the whole thing up. Dude has a book called Men in Black about the fucking Supreme Court. Jesus Christ.
He's nationalizing these decisions.
It's a nation. We're a nation of laws, dum-dum.
That said, the answer to that isn't to destroy the Supreme Court. The answer to that is to get the right justice.
Dude, he wrote a book meant to basically politicize the Supreme Court.
This is on.
Destroying, yes.
So they've destroyed the confirmation process, the Democrats, and one...
I'm sorry, how? By confirming every one of Trump's justices? By allowing them apparently to get away with lying in their confirmation process about stare decisis on Roe v. Wade?
Footnote, filibustering Supreme Court justices or justices at all. Filibustering judicial nominees started with the Democrats, was promoted by Chuck Schumer, and now it's reached all the way to the Supreme Court.
No, it hasn't.
Most of our history, we never filibustered judicial nominees. Now we do. We never did to judicial nominees what we did to Bork, Thomas, and Kavanaugh. Now we do. We never had a leak of a document. I see Politico's trying to cover its ass now. We've never had a leak of a draft like that, ever, in American history. Right.
True. I guess that's what happens when the SCOTUS is run by the right. I mean, it's a failed organization, clearly. I think that's what happens when you put somebody like that in charge. I mean, we had a lot of problems during the Trump years, and he put a bunch of those people in charge. My guess, has anybody checked it for beer mug rings?
In the history of the Supreme Court like this. Why? Because people are being taught that the country stinks, that our foundations don't matter, that we're...
Yeah, apparently they're being taught that in law school before they go clerk for Alito.
White supremacist nation, and that the
Again, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
only way to go is with the radical left agenda. The whole government is supposed to be focused on embracing the radical left agenda.
What are you talking about? The fuck? This is a leaked draft of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's an enormous legal issue. The majority of the fucking country is women. And by no means are women monolithic on this particular issue. Also, I mean, look at the Phyllis Schlafly, look at the documentary about her. Well, I wouldn't call it a documentary. The series they did on the women's rights movement, on the National Organization of Women and the ERA when they were trying to pass it. I want to say it wasn't Netflix, was it? I think so. Somebody in the chat will know about it. Summer and I watched the whole thing. I'm just blitzing on the title. It was really good. I mean, that was yeah, you lived it, no doubt, long shot Louis. This came out, this leaked now because this is a ginormous issue. We still don't know who leaked it. Whether I'm for it or not, it's out. And so people are reacting to it normally.
Yeah. Mark.
Was it Mrs. America? Thank you. Yes, it was on Hulu. Thank you.
Going back to what you said, you know, the headline on all the channels is that the Supreme Court's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, it sounds like.
Yes, Roe v. Weed, which is it's going to legalize pot everywhere, and then they'll never keep Kilmeade on topic.
But ultimately, it will come to, you know, as you said accurately, every state will be able to decide
what a woman can do when she's in that state's borders and what she can't. And it won't affect men at all. I don't understand what all the whinging is about, right, Brian?
Whether to restrict or ban abortion. And, you know, this all started in Mississippi where they said you can't have an abortion after 15 weeks.
Couple things about this. It's not the final decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes in it. I mean, they're going to, basically all the letters are there. They're just going to reorganize
Professor
them.
Trilly and others have said, but it is an indication.
Mm-hmm. An indication that they are a single vote SCOTUS that was concocted specifically. They are a Franken SCOTUS created for this decision by the right wing over years.
Isn't it amazing?
It is. It's amazing. What?
All these medical experts and scientists that we've listened to for 2 years on COVID, they say, follow the science. Okay, I'm following the science. I'm following the sonograms, the heartbeats. Well, what is that exactly in a woman's womb after 15 weeks? What is it?
It's technically a fetus.
What is it?
It's not viable. It couldn't live outside the womb without being attached to the mother. It's not a baby yet.
It's not a bologna sandwich. What is it?
Well, that I'm not sure about. Fucking hell. He's still staring at those flowers. Fucking bologna sandwich.
It's a person.
It's a baby.
It's a person.
And more with our scientific technology, babies can survive. And yet, the Democrats...
Yes, I agree. These days, it's amazing what medical science can do. Babies can survive. I mean, it depends on what state, because if you want infant mortality, obviously, Mississippi doesn't really, I don't give a shit about that so much.
And the left still push abortion up to the last second.
No, they don't. Get the fuck out of here. And is he going to bring up the Virginia idea? By the way, this is what they think of women. This is what they think of her. That given the ability to, I mean, obviously based on geography, if she was in California, she'd just have the baby like a fucking hippie, squat it out and go back to, you know, I don't know, standing in line at the Inn of the Seventh Ray. But, but if she was in Mississippi, she'd probably just go, I'm sick of this.
Governor of Colorado, the governor of California. And everybody says, well, that's a choice. Are you kidding me?
Get this. Listen to this shit. in Virginia even after the baby is born. Okay, fuck you. They're not murdering babies after they're born. What the fuck is wrong with you? And the fact that she just kind of chirps that out, it should tell you everything. What they're talking about is unviable fetuses. Babies born with their fucking lungs outside their body, with their head turned inside out. That can, again, like Terry Schiavo, feel pain, but are not going to live more than 6 minutes. And might kill the mother. And they go, we didn't realize till the baby was being born. We knew it would be deformed, but we were hoping that, we've got to make a decision because it's attached to your uterine wall. And as you try to push it out, it's going to take your insides out with it. That's what the fuck they're talking about. After they're born. Jesus Christ.
It's a human being. Now, we can have that debate, which is separate from the debate over the destruction of our institutions.
Are you sure?
And maybe it's not so separate. It just
I guess we can't then.
Shows you the poisoning of our culture. Roe v. Wade doesn't even do what these governors want to do.
No, Casey does. That's why they're extending it, because they make that distinction. Right. But it's an excellent point. Roe v. Wade doesn't do what they think it does. Roe v. Wade gives you medical privacy. It applies to everybody. It applies to even the men up there. That's right, guys. Now you don't want the let's say that we get let's say we get a female Trump at some point, but she's a progressive Trump, and she decides that she's going to be Olga of Kiev, and she's going to be queen of all who she surveys. And so she's decided that all men should have a penis ring piercing their penis to keep them from being able to reproduce or have an erection until she says it's okay. And 2 days a week you're hung by them. Because of this, you're not going to really be able to say no.
Federal funding for abortions. We had an agreement under the Hyde Amendment for 15 years.
Right. Based on the idea that women would have that right, but that the government wouldn't pay for it. And partly because that was what kept people, because they didn't have to drive across state lines. The government wouldn't pay for it because you didn't have to go anywhere else. You could have a procedure legally in the state. You would minimize it, safe, rare, and legal. And then once you guys started fucking with that, the Hyde Amendment goes out the fucking window because women are having to go to fucking the next state over or take a goddamn train to, 3 counties or go all the way across fucking Texas to the one place to be, by the way, in danger of being shot by some fucking lunatic.
That the federal dollars wouldn't be used because we had to have respect for people who have a moral problem with it.
Right. That's a difference. Yes, the government won't fund it, but people have the right. There's a lot of those things in the world, Mark.
It's been eliminated. We have doctors and nurses for religious reasons or moral reasons who don't want to conduct abortions.
They don't have to.
Those Democrats that you hear now in the Senate and the House, they're trying to force them.
No, they're not.
Force them to do what they want them to do.
No, they're not.
This is what happens. So people are at a loggerhead.
Nobody is forcing anyone to perform abortions against their will. Allowed to actually do the procedure, there are plenty of people to do it. This is not like pharmacists who don't want to give condoms to gay people.
Heads here. Absolute loggerheads. That's why the framers were so incredibly intelligent when it comes to the 10th Amendment. And some of these decisions, most.
The Commerce Clause?
Have to be left to the states where people have a view.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in abortion tourism, and you guys are missing it. This is a business decision.
Point in one state where they may not have a viewpoint in another state, but the left is not happy with that. So when I hear a senator say, well, we're going to have...
Yeah, if you have one state where like a black man and an Asian woman are allowed to be married, and then the next state over, they're not, they could just, when they drive across the state line, they can take their rings off and put them in the dash until they get to the other end of the state. Obviously they can't move there. But if they're driving through Mississippi...
a patchwork when it comes to abortion. That's the point.
No, it isn't. You shouldn't have to hang your fucking rights on a hook when you walk into another state.
It doesn't mean a woman isn't going to get it. Are you kidding me? We have groups bringing illegal aliens into this country, moving them from city to city, or state to state. If somebody says, I want an abortion, in the 18th week and I'm in Mississippi, they'll say, okay, let's get on the bus. We'll go over to New Jersey or wherever it is. This is not an
Jesus Christ. We'll go over to New Jersey. Fucking hell.
issue about whether or not somebody can get an abortion, I'm sad to say. This is an issue about...
And the fact that this asshole thinks that women should hang their, well, it's a bad analogy.
The constitutional construct in this country. Who makes the decisions? Are we going to...
The woman. See how easy that is?
Centralize all these decisions with
Yes, we're going to centralize these decisions with women. Ta-da!
a handful of judges?
No, not a handful. Just the ones that are women.
And Schumer and Pelosi and the radicals in this country? Or are we going to allow...
Well, I mean, Pelosi's, past birthing years, but I think she's got grandkids. I would say she can have a voice. I don't know that Schumer will want one.
allow the American people to make these decisions?
Yes, right. Exactly. Allow the American people to make these decisions. Specifically, the women. Motherfucker. The dude is not like, have you ever seen someone so blind to what they're actually saying?
This is a counter-revolution to the American Revolution. That's...
Yeah, right. You do realize that prior to the revolution, a man, specifically a king, made your decisions for you. That didn't occur to you?
That's what's taking place here. In so many ways, we live in a post-constitutional society now. I don't know. Are we a representative republic? Are we a federal republic? What exactly are we?
Jesus Christ.
And so now they basically light a fuse at the Supreme Court of the United States. Why not?
And why would it? If this is a good decision, why would it light a fuse? Why?
Why not? They're blowing up everything else.
Yeah, just these fucking left-wingers storming the fucking Capitol, trying to keep the peaceful transfer of power from... Oh, shit.
And the court has a grave problem on its hands right now. Somebody...
Well, it's births we're concerned with. We'll get to that.
did horrific damage to the Supreme Court, and I want the American people to understand. You might say, well, who cares? Somebody leaks something. Everybody always leaks something.
That's true. That's why Mark Levin never stands up on this show. Khakis.
You cannot have 9 justices sitting in a conference room
No, you cannot.
openly discussing opinions.
Absolutely not. Over coffee and, well, 1 beer.
Going back and forth, having their law clerks help prepare the briefs, going back and forth. It takes a period of months typically. With a complicated decision, it could be 6 months if they think somebody's going to leak it. And just remember the motives.
Well, I think they would, they'll probably set up a system, who they should talk to? They should talk to Kevin Feige from Marvel. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Otherwise, I'm never going to do a Marvel movie again. I was already in one. Because if I've auditioned for things and the copy that I had of the document had my name watermarked across it. When you get audition materials or drafts of scripts on those kind of things, you can tell who got it and where it came from. Just saying.
Behind the person who leaked it. I
mean, by the way, you can fix that from now on. I don't know why the Supreme Court doesn't do that anyways.
Succeeded. They succeeded. Yep. The Democrat Party is running with this like a dog with a bone.
So they're trotting around the yard and laying down occasionally and then getting up and then digging a hole.
And they're going to raise money on this, and they...
Because I think it's a dog after a bone is the analogy, because once you've got the bone, what the fuck are you running for?
Hope it changes what happens in 2022. And I predict, I hope I'm wrong,
right,
that Biden is also going to be a dog with a bone in his mouth.
Yeah, there's a lot of bones in people's mouths, and all Mark wants is a bologna sandwich.
That's what they're going to do.
Starting today.
They're going to try and change...
Starting today.
The subject. But I want to be clear, sadly. If you're
They're trying to cut you off. Mark, they're over it. They're talking right into his ear.
Somebody who wants an abortion.
Talk about a dog with a bone.
you'll be able to get an abortion.
Yeah, don't worry. Mark Levin will be doing them personally at when he's autographing copies of his book, American Marxism. It's going to come with a built-in...
But the Supreme Court has been severely damaged, as have the rest of our institutions, by the radical left in this country.
And Justice Alito said we cannot allow our decisions to be affected in any way or influenced by anything such as public opinion.
Yes, you can. You sure as fuck can. And by the way, just saying that means we were affected by public opinion when we started allowing interracial marriage. The public, I mean, that was against, there was no, strict law in the Constitution that allowed for that. And every previous law had outlawed it. So therefore, public opinion, fuck that. Gay marriage, we can't let public opinion affect the fact that we allow that to happen. Up to this point on Earth, it had been illegal. People were put to death for that thing. So we can't.
So that's what Alito thinks. And he says, so therefore, if the February paper stands, that'll be the June decision.
Mark Levin,
Mark,
we thank you very much for joining us today.
You are so talented. What the fuck did he do? No, I'm sorry. He's going to have to sing this. Also, I beg your pardon. I apologize. This is, I mean, I guess we were slightly successful on this one. We were able to find the four dumbest people to talk about this. Only because I don't think Bongino actually put out a clip. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, by the way, and I think that shows taste and breeding on your part. Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show in any way you can. And if you can't, just watch it. Chill. We're going to get through this. By the way, even if this ends up standing, you will see, I believe, if you look at the size of the Women's March, for example, when Trump got elected, that's the kind of thing we're looking at this fall, size-wise, as far as voting bloc, that, women and the men who love and care for them showing up to vote this fall, as we always should, but specifically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.